Ian O'Neill here for SevereMMA again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Lone'er Kavanagh ahead of his big fight at Cage Warriors 141 in London next weekend on July 22nd. Lonnie, how are you doing, my man? Thank you so much for joining me today. We're just a week out now.
Thank you for guys having me on. I'm doing pretty well. I can't complain. I'm living the life of a fighter, which is a good life. So yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good on my end.
Good to hear. I mean, a question I had for you from the get go maybe is like, how did you find your way into combat sports? Was it from a very young age, and how did you kind of integrate into mixed martial arts?
It's actually quite a funny story to be fair. Like both my parents did martial arts when I was growing up. Like my dad used to be an instructor. My mum also used to train. So like I was kind of like born into it, if that makes sense. But I didn't actually start till I was like 8. I was always too scared to get started beforehand. And then having quite like a very straightforward mum. My mum was very like, "Now you're doing it at this age." Started it and then loved it ever since, and never looked back.
What age was that when you got started?
So I believe I started when I was 8. I believe.
Nice. And at what stage then, when you were kind of coming up through it, did you know that you want to compete professionally and do it full time?
Um, so I had my first conversation when I was 10. Um, so like I love that experience. It was abroad as well, so it was quite like a cool experience altogether. I didn't think I really wanted to fight until I joined what is now Elevate Martial Arts, but was called Combat Company beforehand, and met my first like MMA coach, who was Jack. I had my first fight under him like after like 3 months of knowing him, and then just kept going ever since, and then just kept fighting my way through. Um, and yeah, then I decided to go pro. That's really it. Yeah.
Nice. And what is the background of your parents, and what were some of the early competitions that you were fighting in?
So both parents did like a very traditional martial arts. Um, Funny stuff. My dad's actually Irish. It's the last name.
That's I
Uh,
was going to ask you. The last name is definitely Irish for sure. Yeah.
yeah. I've got quite a strange mix. My dad's Irish. My mom's Chinese. Um, so like
Nice.
they're pretty good together. So yeah, like both my parents did like a very traditional martial arts growing up. So I don't really know how I got into like the more MMA side of stuff. I think I just preferred it over everything else. I love the sport because it's ever evolving and it's still relatively new. So there's always things to learn, no matter like what stage you're at in your career. If that makes sense. Um, and then yeah, so like I just kind of got competing in that sense.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, early days, who were your influences in combat sports and mixed martial arts? I mean, who were you watching? Anybody on the TV? Any of the up and coming UK mixed martial artists, or maybe guys from the UFC or something like that?
Yeah, so like obviously Brad Pickett, who's my one of my main coaches now, is a very like high role model in that sense, and I've always looked up to him. I remember like the first time I ever had like a proper conversation with Brad, it was like I was almost like starstruck. Makes sense because obviously he was still fighting in the UFC as one of the biggest names in the UK, and I was almost twisting my words up when speaking to him. So now being able to like train under him is like it's a dream come true, right? Same with like Ash Grimshaw. I remember like Ash Grimshaw took one of my first ever MMA classes when I was like 14 years old, and like I've been with him ever since, and it's just our like relationship has developed over the years as well, and having him in my corner as well as Brad, as well as my other coaches as well. It's just like a dream come true. I can't really complain about that. We've got one of
Yeah.
two of the best coaches in the world. Go for it.
Absolutely. Brad's had a great career in the UFC and outside the UFC as well. And it's great to see, the gym is doing real well now. Great Britain top team. I mean, it must be a real pleasure to be involved with the gym right now. You have Nathaniel Wood there, Dominic Wooding, and a couple of other great guys that are on the big scene as well. What's the kind of gym atmosphere like at Great Britain top team?
The gym atmosphere is amazing. Like I know everyone says this, but like the gym is like a family. It's like my second family. If that makes sense. Like going there, there's always like laughs, jokes going around. There's a lot of banter going around, but everyone's there to push each other to their max. And there's because now we've got our new facilities, it's the team's ever evolving. There's always new people coming in of different levels. You know, we have Amir. I always mess up his last name, Abazi. So, you know, he started coming in. Mark Casey started coming in. Obviously, we've got Nathaniel, Don Wooding, Wesley Meyer, and those guys are like a high standard that it's hard not to get better. And like having those guys in the gym as people to look up to and people to train with, yeah, is amazing. And having those guys to like, you know, push you every single day in the gym, it is again like another thing like ticked off my wish list.
Yeah, for sure, man. Coming over from a traditional martial arts background, I mean, what were some of the big hurdles or some of the big transitions that you might not found difficulties with? But, you know, obviously a transition from any combat sport to another, you are going to have some hurdles and some things to get over. I mean, what were some of the maybe transitions that you needed to do and bring into your game coming into mixed martial arts?
Well, I'd say because beforehand I'm more focused on striking, like kickboxing, and I compete in those kind of elements, that my wrestling, jiu-jitsu weren't like on the same level as my striking. So it was definitely an area where I needed to focus on and improve on. But then I fell in love with both the disciplines. You know, wrestling is such a hard but rewarding sport. You know, and it's so physically demanding, but once you like start succeeding in it, it just, you know, it's almost like bit sweeter than striking, because, you know, there's always like, there's only a certain amount of punches and kicks you can throw at one time. With wrestling, again, is ever evolving. Like, you know, you're constantly fighting someone the whole time. There's no time to rest. And the same with jiu-jitsu. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're constantly having to work even when you're trying to rest. So falling in love with like those two sports and adding it to my game has been awesome. And then also developing my striking alongside that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with jiu-jitsu, it's like, you know, you're competing, you're rolling, and even when you're not competing or you're not rolling, you're always thinking about what happened in there. You can just really get engrossed into the kind of grappling side of things, don't you, really?
Yeah, of course. They always say like, you know, jiu-jitsu is very addictive, right? You know, working in a gym as well, where like new members come in. Yeah, that's the first thing you notice. Like they do one or two classes, which at first is a little bit weird, but once they're on like that third class, they're always hooked. They always want to do more. So yeah, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I'd say, would be very like an addictive sport, and it's a very like team-oriented sport, right? Like there's not many sports where you're that close to your teammates in terms of like in that sense. But you know, it's definitely a hooking sport, like both of them.
Big time, big time. Coming, looking at your style and what I've seen in your fights, watching back, I do see glimpses of your training partner Nathaniel Wood. I mean, getting the chance to work with him and come up along with him, I mean, that must be a great help. And you guys have a good relationship and do a lot of work together.
Yeah, yes, we train a lot together. We help each other get ready for different fight camps. So like in terms of like style, there may be a couple of crossovers. Where, you know, looking up to him as well, he's a very exciting fighter to watch. You watch all his fights in the UFC or back in the day on Cage Warriors as well. You know, there's never a dull moment with Nathaniel. So like I'm a big believer on like taking little bits from every person and trying to put it together to make it work. Is how I like to develop my game. So I take like, you know, bits from Nathaniel Wood, like a lot of bits about his movement, his footwork and stuff, and then take different things from Brad about his very peekaboo style. Same with Ash Grimshaw, same with different coaches. It's, you know, it's like working with someone so much, you tend to take some of the things that work and the things they catch you with, right? You know that work and you know that hurt as well. So taking those to then put it into your own game is part of the sport, right?
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, and especially when you're talking about a guy like Nathaniel Wood as well, who always brings that, and is a phenomenal fighter too. Just want to talk a little bit about your amateur career. Started in 2013. You fought your last amateur fight in 2018, moved to pro in 2019. I mean, you didn't have that much fights in your amateur career. You kind of slow rolled your amateur career a little bit. Was there any reason behind that? I mean, you know, we see amateurs that could fight 10, 20 times perhaps, but I mean, what was basis of your decision, maybe just not to take as much fights? Was it more of a focus on your development as a fighter, transitioning over to mixed martial arts?
I would more say it like different things come up. I had a lot of injuries through my amateur career. Like I had different things pop up, which I had to take a couple of months back to like help them get better before I could compete again. And also going through like the COVID time, fights just fall through all the time. Yeah. I remember like the year of 2018, I believe, I was supposed to have 4 different fights scheduled, and they all got cancelled like back to back. So I can't wait. Would find out like a week before and then not fight. Especially like a flyweight division. There's not as much people competing at flyweight.
For sure, yeah,
so it's always hard finding opponents that way. So yeah, it just kind of worked out being like that. I had a couple of injuries, a couple of fights fall through, and also just enjoying my time training at the same time. Like always trying to get better. Like you said, trying to help myself develop my overall toolbox. Does that make sense?
100%. And like I said, making your pro debut in 2009, picking up 2 solid wins, 2 finishes as well. I think that watching your striking, I can only describe it as dynamic. It's just so good to look at. Your footwork, your movement, your distance control, the power you get into your punches is absolutely sensational in my opinion. Where do you think all of that comes from?
To be honest with you, it's like to pinpoint one thing. It is quite a hard thing to do. Obviously, like working with my different coaches and stuff, and having like a background in strength training and explosiveness. I've always been quite like an explosive athlete. In terms of like, there's different types of athletes. There's slow twitch and fast twitch athletes. I'd always say that I'm more of a fast twitch athlete, like even growing up. And then just trying to develop on those attributes helped massively. Working with the right coaches, working on technique and martial arts is like, it's not only on the mat, right? Training is not only on the mat, taking it home as well, and constantly thinking about every little detail helps massively. I'm always like, it's always in my head, like always going through, the perfect movements in my head, even though if you can't nail it at the beginning, just knowing how to do it is very important. Yeah. And just trying to get as close to perfection as possible helps massively in terms of like technique and power and stuff like that. And yeah, so I'd say like it's a loads of different a mixture of things. Working with like good coaches and just having like a more of a background in like more like strength and explosive work definitely helps with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, and that translates over into your grappling as well. Obviously, you've picked up 1 submission win so far in professional career. But I'm just curious to find out what the feelings were like when you got the phone call asking you to compete at Cage Warriors 134 against Ryan Morgan.
Honestly, if you ask anyone that was in the gym at that time, I was very, very happy. I've been looking to fight on Cage Warriors for a while, obviously following in loads of my teammates' footsteps, going from Cage Warriors and then hopefully opening up bigger avenues. I know Cage Warriors is a very big show and it's a very good platform to showcase your skills. So I've been trying to get on it for a while. And then when I got the call from Brad saying, I've got you a couple fights deal, and your next fight will be at this time, I was through the moon. I was like screaming, shouting. I was like, someone just told me that, I won £1 million. So
yeah, and I mean, getting the chance to make your Cage Warriors debut as well in London must have been real special as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've always like, I've watched so many different athletes fight at the O2 Indigo, like watching Nathaniel Wood fight there loads of times. And I was always thinking, like, I can't wait to fight there. I can't wait to fight there. I can't wait to fight there. And then given the chance to fight there, it just felt amazing. I remember like, when you go in the cage before the show actually starts and you figure yourself around, just looking up and it felt good. It felt like I belonged there. So yeah, being able to perform in London is a dream come true.
And
hopefully just bigger stages from there.
For sure. Like perform is what you certainly did. I think it was an absolutely blow away performance. My good friend and colleague here at SevereMMA, Harry Powell, was actually watching the event live. He was live in attendance, and he told me that he has never seen more of a devastating knockout than he did in your knockout of Ryan Morgan.
Thank you.
How do you rate that performance out of 10?
Out of 10, like it's a hard way to rate it. There's always room for improvement. I definitely feel like for my Cage Warriors debut, it was a very good performance to get my name out there. But I definitely feel like I'm ever evolving, and that hopefully each performance is just going to get better and better. So compared to hopefully my next performance, it'll be like a 6, 7 out of 10. Just keep improving from there.
Jeez, I think you're being harsh on yourself with 6, 7. I thought it was like for Cage Warriors debut under the circumstances, Lonnie. I thought it was a really excellent performance, and
Thank you.
You're getting the chance to go in there again next week to take on Andre Sanchez in the flyweight division. How are you feeling about that fight?
Yeah, I feel excited. I feel ready. I've had a really good camp. I'm excited to get back in there and show people what I'm capable of doing. I've got a tough opponent in front of me who also got a knockout in his last Cage Warriors outing. So the stakes are a little bit higher, but once you're in there, that's the fun part. Do you know what I mean? Like all the training, all the cutting weight is the stuff that people don't tell you about, and like getting in the cage is the actual part where you choose what you choose to do, and it's fun for me. Do you know what I mean? As long as I go in there and have fun, I know I get the result that I want.
That's what I was going to ask you, because looking at you fight each time in there, it does look like you're having fun. And I guess that's the most important thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I love it now, man. I can't complain. When I'm in there, it feels good. It feels good.
Nice. So you have a couple of teammates fighting on UFC London next week. What's the greater plan for you? Obviously, you're looking at the flyweight division in Cage Warriors first. Your plan is obviously to shoot up the rankings and try and grab a hold of that belt. Is the UFC the ultimate goal for you?
Sorry, one more time. You cut. What was that?
Oh, sorry. I said you have a couple of teammates that are fighting next week on UFC London. Yeah. Obviously, your focus right now is on Cage Warriors and the flyweight division, moving up the ranks, getting that title. But is the overall goal the UFC for you?
I definitely say it's one of my top goals. Yeah, it's every fighter's dream to fight in the UFC. It's the biggest platform in the world, right? But yeah, so definitely aiming towards that, following in my teammates' footsteps, and hopefully it'll be it's not too far away. I just keep working my way up, get to the top, and go from there. I'd also like to fight on like different shows, like One Championship and stuff like that, which is like there's big shows, especially being half Asian as well, kind of works towards it as well.
Exactly. But, yeah.
UFC is always a dream, right? I've dreamed since I was a little kid fighting there. So
how far do you think you are away from getting a Cage Warriors title shot?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I like taking one fight at a time. I like taking each fight as like it was a title shot. But I feel like if I keep getting a couple good performances, then maybe 1, 2 more fights, hopefully get a chance at a title, or at least get close to it. So yeah, I'm excited to work towards that. But I've got someone in front of me right now who I've got to get through in order to get there.
Yeah, perfect. And that's it. It's a good way of thinking of it. Andre Sanchez is the opponent next week. I mean, anyone, you can see the fight on UFC Fight Pass. If anybody is tuning in, what can you expect for anybody? What are you going to put on show for anyone who's looking to watch that fight? How do you see the fight going down?
I see the fight being a very exciting fight, a very explosive fight. There's going to be, I like to keep stuff very like explosive and very like entertaining. So hopefully just to see a good win, and to keep hopefully see fireworks start flying. So yeah,
absolutely. Well, you provided fireworks in your previous fights, and I'm sure you'll do the same next weekend as well, man. I won't keep you any longer. I do appreciate the time coming into fight week. I know that you're busy and everything like that, Lonnie. Is there any shout outs? Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we finish up here?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to obviously everyone at GB Top Team, all my coaches there, Brad, Ash, Colton, and stuff like that. The guys at Elevate, and also a couple of sponsors. Obviously, Scramble been with me for a while, been sponsoring me. Vigorate have jumped on board for this fight. TaylorMade Plumbing have jumped on board, and a couple of other ones that like to stay unnamed. So all the support is appreciated, and obviously to everyone that's coming out to watch or tuning in online to watch the fight, I appreciate the support. Yeah, and I hope to give you guys a performance.
Excellent. I'm sure you've got a big crowd heading there to watch you live as well, do you?
Yeah, I've got quite a few people, so it'd be nice to like have everyone in my home ground.
Nice one. Well, Cage Warriors 141 is the scene. Lone'er Kavanagh is on that card, taking on Andre Sanchez next Friday. UFC Fight Pass, July 22nd. Tune in. You're on early-ish on the card. Has the final bout agreements been?
I don't think they've been made yet, but yeah, I assume quite early-ish.
Yeah, so tune in early to see Lonnie. Excellent fighter in the flyweight division there. Has got a big future. Thanks so much for taking the time with me today, Lonnie. All the best to you, my friend, and we'll talk to you again sometime down the line.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. See you soon.